Commissioner District 1, which is obviously the facility is located in District 1. With us is Commissioner Tom Helmer, Commissioner District 3, and he's also the President of the Commissioners. And at this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to Ali Alavi, who is Executive Vice President of Heritage Environmental.
Thank you, Dave. Can you hear me okay? Great. First, I'll apologize if I have my back to anybody for too long. I'll try and keep spinning around a little bit. As Dave said, my name is Ali Alavi, Executive Vice President of Heritage Environmental Services. I have several colleagues here with me tonight. Wendy Hamrick, our Chief Operating Officer. Next to her is Chris Patchen, our Vice President of Operations. And behind me, Eric Chris, who's the Facility Manager for the landfill here in Roachdale. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I'll make a few opening remarks and we'll try to get to the Q&A portion of the evening as quickly as possible so everybody has a chance to ask any questions they have. We've got a sign-up sheet here. If anyone has not signed up or wants to sign up to ask a question, please do so. This way we'll hand the thing out. Thanks. We'll try and go in order, and then if anyone has questions beyond that. Yes, sir? Oh, you just want it. Sorry, never mind.
I'll take it.
So just by way of introduction, Heritage Environmental Services was founded in 1970, headquartered in Indianapolis. The site history here, this facility began construction in 1980, began operating in 1981. This facility is probably one of the most heavily regulated pieces of property in the United States. It's regulated under the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. That's the federal law that governs waste management, including the type of waste that will be making its way here from the East Palestine site. The facility is also inspected on a regular basis by IDEM, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and the US EPA. We operate under probably the strictest permit that can be issued under federal environmental law. A little bit about the material that we're going to be receiving here. It's contaminated soil from the East Palestine site. I think there's probably been a lot of confusion over what might be coming this way. There's a variety of different types of waste that have been generated from that incident in Ohio. Some of it's liquid, that will not be coming here. What we'll be receiving is soil that's contaminated with butyl acrylate, which is a chemical that's used in paint, sealant, caulking, a very common ingredient in those types of materials. There's trace elements of other contaminants also in that soil, one of which was a vinyl chloride, which I think everybody that probably got the most airplay from that incident in Ohio. That material that's coming in, the vinyl chloride, for example, and all the elements that are in that soil are well below limits that we're allowed to accept here at the landfill here in Roachdale. So by way of example, the vinyl chloride, the limit that we're allowed you can't go above is 6 parts per million. The analytical results from that soil comes in at 0.033 parts per million. So for context, million.
Same people that caused the problem did the report.
I'm sorry?
Who did the report? Who gave you those readings?
The generator.
That's the concern.
It was done by the independent lab, though. It was not done
Well, that's a question for those folks. I mean,
Where are they at? Where are they at? If you're under the EPA, where are they at tonight?
we confirm
Did you
that.
run independent tests? Did Heritage run independent tests?
Yes.
Where are the results? We see it tonight.
No, well, we don't have them here tonight, but they confirm.
Why didn't you come prepared?
They confirm the results that we received from the generator.
We don't trust you.
I think he got
All right.
If you're under EPA regulation, where are they tonight?
I can't answer that. I can't speak for EPA. But we are here.
Clarify parts per million, I'm sorry, I might have started that. Parts per million, not billion, but million, so.
Parts per million. So
Continue with
by way of context, it's akin to 1 cup of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
all of that momentarily.
Sure. Yeah, we send our sample out to a third-party lab. We only use 1 lab, correct?
Same one you've used for years?
Yes.
No. It's we use a different lab from you. It's a separate lab.
You can't even control a meeting, how's he gonna control the toxic issues?
So, okay, so now I'd like to turn it over to Eric. Eric runs the landfill here. He's going to talk a little bit about how the operation works.
So I'm Eric Chris. I run the landfill out in Rochdale. So I brought this little. Can you hear me okay? All right. So we brought this. It kind of shows our design of our landfill. So the landfill itself, we start out with a under drain layer of sand, put in a 3 feet of compacted soil that has very low hydraulic conductivity. So essentially the liquids can't go through that material very easily. On top of that, we put in a PVC liner system, which has very low permeability material. Then we have a leak detection system, so that if there's any leaks, it would be detected but still contained within the landfill cell. We then have a geosynthetic clay layer, which is bentonite infused material that will absorb any liquids that would come in contact with it. Classic well. This is. We do not have a well on site. We do not do any type of deep well injection. Our company does not have a deep well. So we have a landfill. So that's why we're only receiving soil.
And this landfill is built on top of an aquifer that gives all of us water.
Are you aware of that, sir? Are you aware of that? 25 grandkids, babies,
One of the largest in the state.
So the landfill then has a leachate collection system. So it's piping that will, as liquids percolate through the landfill, it's all collected on top of that liner system. And then the rainwater, as rain rains onto the landfill, that leachate is then transported off-site to the facility and disposed of at another facility. How the detection system works. So we monitor the detection system and look for the volumes that are removed from the detection system. Where our permit establishes leakage rates. So if we have a leak, and then we have to report it to the regulatory agencies. No, so every day when we receive material in, we will open up a section into the landfill. We will dump that material in, we compact it, and then at the end of the day, we bring clean soil in and cover it every day. So that way it's never exposed to the environment.
But you're using the same equipment that you're pushing this
No.
soil with, and it's in the trash of your equipment, and then you're contaminating the soil that's supposed to be clean on top, or you guys
We have multiple pieces of equipment. So we have a piece of equipment that pushes the contaminated material in.
Okay, after this pushes that contaminated material in, how do you clean those tracks if you track over the uncontaminated soil?
Then we manually clean the tracks, or we can wash the tracks out.
All of that contaminated soil, or is it done uncontaminated?
You know, all the contamination stays at the landfill working phase. So any contamination is then pushed into and covered with clean soil.
When those trucks dump, and they pull back on 236, are their tires 100% clean, or do they track out contaminated soil on those?
So the inbound loads never drive on waste. So they're only driving on gravel and clean soil. And when they dump, then before they leave the site, they go through a wheel wash that then washes any just mud off of it. But they're not tracking through waste.
So like your truck, and you're driving around and it's second minutes, and you drive to that, would you use the site?
No. The only piece of equipment in the waste is a bulldozer that compacts the waste down. No, it's well above the water table.
How many feet? We'd like specifics. This is our water table. This is our drinking water. This is what grows our farms.
Our animals, and they're all dying in Ohio, so we have a right to touch it.
I'm more worried about the kids than I am the animals. Yes.
Everyone,
We also
everyone.
have, part of our permit, we have monitoring wells installed around the entire system. So those wells are in the water table.
How
So
many feet?
We're
We need to know.
monitoring the water that's flowing underneath the landfill. So that's how we detect, another method of detection if there was any leakage, because we have these wells that are in that water table you're discussing.
But this is
So your
self-regulatory.
facility is above the water table here. Why don't we send the shit to where it's not gonna poison somebody's water instead? Why your facility? Did you guys win the bid or something?
Our children in all that. Are you gonna have somebody sit there on it 24/7, watching it? Can I ask a question before you talk out, please?
Well, our water.
Do we have the sign-up sheet so we can go through?
Let that guy speak.
When was your liners last inspected?
Yeah.
Is Carolyn Huff here?
I'm so sorry, I apologize to be rude. Do you mind if I go first? I promise you will not regret it. I'll tell you. My name is Rudy Guerrero. My wife and I found our dream property a year ago in Rochdale. We moved here. We have 5 kids. We homeschool. We're Christians. We're conservatives. We love God. I'm an ex-scientist. I've done virology research. I've done microbiology. I no longer do that now, but I intimately dove into this topic as soon as it happened. And yesterday, my mom called me and told me it's coming to my backyard. So I'm going to take about 90 seconds to inform you about something that no one is wanting to talk about. And that is a word called dioxin. D-I-O-X-I-N. Dioxin. And when the train that had chlorinated chemicals combined with ordinary hydrocarbon plastics, it created something called chlorinated dioxin. This just so happens to be the most toxic compound that man knows. It was accidentally discovered in 1949 when there was an explosion in the Monsanto facility in Virginia. And from then, they've been doing numerous studies, and they know that A, it is a multi-generational toxin that will impair the fertility of your children, that will cause cancers, that if your children do have babies, they will suffer miscarriages prior to having those babies, and it is a slow toxic death. Now, furthermore, dioxin was the pernicious compound in Agent Orange. We all know Agent Orange, all right? In Vietnam, that is why Agent Orange was so toxic, is because of dioxins. It is what is called a PBT, persistent, it doesn't go away. Bioaccumulative, meaning it goes into the water, it goes into the grass, the cows eat it, we eat the steak, the dairy, the cheese. It comes to us. A nursing mother passes it along to her suckling child. Okay? It doesn't go away. And it is toxic to degrees that are actually mind-boggling. Dr. Peter Montague, PhD, Environmental Research Foundation, gave this example. With 325 milligram aspirin, all right? If you divide that amongst 32 million adults, that is a lifetime toxic level, all right? If that's hard to wrap your head around, one tiny grain of salt divided amongst 9,000 adults is lifetime toxic, all right? So the EPA standard is that this is 1 million times more toxic than arsenic, and 100 truckloads of dioxin contaminated soil with about 2,000 tons is on our way, and it will be generational landslide. I'm almost done, halfway there. Learning from our examples of the past, there's a city called Times Beach, Missouri. Times Beach, Missouri. Try to go there now. It doesn't exist because of dioxin contamination, and the city literally had to be leveled and incinerated, all right? Research by Monsanto, Bayer, Dow, BASF has all shown since the 1950s that dioxin is a multi-generational cancer-producing fertility toxin, all right? Now, let's get to action. There have been companies, and our owners are in Chicago. I don't know how many of you live next door. I believe you do. Do you, sir? You do not. Okay. So, what the company could do is they could do the right thing and say, you know what? We're a profitable company already. We should not be receiving these dioxin-contaminated materials here in this community. So we're going to do right. We're going to do right and risk the consequences and say, no, keep it there, deal with it there, because the city of East Palestine is already should be contaminated. And you would be loved in the community for that, okay? So last few things. Eric Holcomb needs to be demanded to write an executive order to stop this. He wrote orders that would not allow me to be 6 feet from this gentleman without wearing a face diaper. He should be demanded to write an executive order to stop this. As well, Representative Bo Baird needs to do everything in his power. Our commissioners, Dave Barry, Rick Whittle, and Thomas Helmer need to do everything in their power. I don't know, Dave, why you passed me along to someone else yesterday. I thought you were the man that I needed to talk to, but we need our commissioners to step up. I have 100 pieces of paper here with a website, libertydefense.us/toxic waste. This is a legitimate political petition that we can use to make something happen. I have 100 handouts. I want you to be equipped. This, if we do not fix this, I tell you, if we do not fix this, we will become a documentary in 10 years.
Not here.
Carolyn Huff.
Put it on the White House lawn.
The damn dump's gonna go still address, I think.
The question was, when did our governor know this was going on?
I believe it was the beginning of the week.
Huh?
Beginning of the week.
Donate money to
As of today, my understanding was that he wasn't informed. I think we knew about it maybe even before he did.
What did you want?
I mean, is it important for this new state?
I think that's what
any other people? My question was, when did you talk to Putnam? When did he know about it?
We've been in contact with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management and their staff. And of course, they work for government. I do not know when the government found
I mean, the question is, how does these people, first responders, have any kind of time for the government to even get ready for something like this? The first responders, I mean, people that we're dealing with, how do they get prepped, even for the meeting tonight?
I'm not sure why the first responders are there.
We can't hear you.
Why not? Like this? There's more of this in that landfill. Well, no, it's not. That's the problem.
All the same stuff
Well,
we have.
I guess with everything else, it's been, I guess the only thing I have to say is that I really don't think the guy's coming to ease our conscience or do anything to help us.
That's what I'm really thinking. Shit, since 1981, we just didn't know. The high profile of East Palestine made it like publicly, like where we're like, oh wait, what the fuck?
We do not accept dioxins at the Rosedale landfill.
How do you know?
Is there Jim?
Show us the test
Derringer
results.
here? Derringer?
Well, thank you. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm going to have to deal with the rest of my life. I think we need a test before this material comes to this site to make sure that it doesn't have dioxin in it. The other question is, isn't there another landfill closer to eastern Ohio that could accept this material and not have to truck it? This doesn't make sense to me at all. I do not believe that there is a landfill that's closer that could accept the material. From what I understand, we are one of the facilities that EPA designated.
What they did, they make it so hard for other places to take it.
It's not a matter of material being hard to take, it's that they have so much material in Ohio that they've got to split it amongst a bunch of different facilities that are permitted to take that kind of material.
Is there a Laura Scott?
They shipped it with Norfolk Southern, the same company that had the train design. They shipped it.
Trust me, I won't get applause here. My name is Laura Scott. I live in Section 23 of Franklin Township, on top of the Tipton Till Aquifer system. I will explain why that aquifer is important in just a minute. I'm not a geologist or a chemist, and I have served on the Putnam County Board of Zoning Appeals for about 15 years plus. I'm not here to criticize Heritage Environmental because I believe the work of the organization meets a very important need in our country. I do, however, have some questions and concerns about the long-term operation of the hazardous waste facility. As I understand the practice of hazardous waste disposal in a landfill, the waste is to be contained within a double liner system. In very simplistic terms, the liner system works kind of like a super heavy-duty garbage bag, super heavy-duty, really expensive garbage bag, which is intended to prohibit surface water or rainwater from entering the bag and any waste from leaching out to enter either the surface water system, as in Raccoon Creek, or the below-ground aquifer system. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Given the location of this landfill in Russell Township, it's in sections 2 and 11. The hazardous waste is being stored above the Tipton Till aquifer system, a very significant unconsolidated aquifer system in Putnam County. This aquifer runs east to west from about section 17 in Jackson Township, or about where Rachel and Steve Crosby live, to section 16 in Russell Township, which is about where Dale McGoy lives. That is one continuous, unconsolidated aquifer that runs through 3 townships and in Montgomery County as well. This is from the DNR, the Division of Water. This information is available online, as well as a lot of other information. Slightly to the north of the Tipton Till aquifer, there are deeper unconsolidated aquifers, and from these aquifers, Bainbridge takes its water from a public supply well. It's a very big well. Nucor Steel has high capacity wells as well, and they are within the same area as well as in Montgomery County. I don't mean to do a play on words there. The biggest concern I have, bar none, over the long haul is the potential contamination of these aquifers with hazardous chemicals. Therefore, my questions to you all, and please let them answer, because if we can't hear what their responses are, just getting mad at them isn't going to accomplish anything. Number one, of what material is the 41-year-old liner made?
The synthetic liners we use is made of PVC. That's what it kind of shows on here.
It's not butyl. It's not butyl rubber.
No,
I know on the news there was, I think Tom inadvertently said rubber on the news yesterday. So it's not made of rubber. It is made of PVC. That's why we kind of made this up so people can see all the layers of protection.
What is the functional life of the liner? No matter how much testing you do, when is the liner likely to fail, given it has to have a lifespan?
Hundreds of years. I couldn't think of
Google says up to 20 years.
And if you think about PVC in your house, if you have PVC in your house, you're not having to go through and replace your plumbing every 10, 20, 50 years. And this is not like your plumbing that would be in your house. Like you mentioned, this is very, very durable materials made specifically for this application.
How thick is it? It mills. Is it thicker than a full liner?
Yes, much thicker than
How much?
It's 30 mils.
30 mils? How thick is that bulletin board you're standing right next to right now?
And remember, you have multiple layers of protection. And then the bigger thing, the groundwater monitoring wells surrounding the entire facility, is tested on a periodic basis. You know, we're testing those all year long. And if there was some type of leak that would get into the water, that's where it would show up in those monitoring wells, you know, immediately, and we'd have to take action.
However, if it does show up in the monitoring wells, and you're talking about acres of where this waste is stored, what you gonna do? I mean, it's going to fail at some point. It might not be in my lifetime, I've got white hair, but it will fail at some point. What's the plan at that point?
And remember, we have the leak detection too. So that's why the action would happen before it would ever leak through the multiple layers of protection. So if it did penetrate through the primary layer and we had detection in that leakage detection system, that's when action would be implemented, not to the point where it would break down through all the multiple layers. So we try to have multiple layers of protection.
Oops, we're sorry.
At what point will the current landfill reach its capacity?
Approximately another 50 to 75 years.
So do they just operate an honor system?
And
Like,
what will Heritage Environmental do with this hazardous waste landfill when the current space is filled?
Just take their word for it.
It'll be closed, and what we do, and we do partial closures as we go along. So, very similar to the protection system that goes below. So we actually put a synthetic liner over the cover protective dirt that's covering the waste, and then we put cover soil on top of that. So in the end, and everything is welded together. So in the end, it is completely enclosed over the top and the bottom with multiple layers in the bottom. So, and then it'll go into the post-closure phase.
On the Indiana Department of Environmental Management's website, IDEM site, the following is written. Landfills are used as final disposal sites. They are monitored during their entire active life, including closure and the post-closure period. Here in Putnam County, we think in terms of generations of life, not merely about what the profit is of an organization for a quarter or for a single year. If the water supply is contaminated with hazardous waste materials, Heritage Environmental will be responsible for exploiting Putnam County's generous water resources and its residents for corporate benefit, not for the environmental cleanup that you have promoted in the short term. Your hazardous waste landfill is not a 41-year project. It will involve future generations who will live in Putnam County for hundreds of years to come. I do have some of these aquifer maps. I don't have a ton, but if anybody wants one after it's all said and done, come up to me and I'll make it.
Water reservoir anyway, so you do at some point, that line is probably going to fail. Why would you engage your two counties and build that? I mean, Heritage or Commissioner, one week that's a public.
I think, I'm not a geologist, but my son is.
It's where a big valley was at.
But I think Well, yeah, I agree, and I've asked myself that same question. Why would you put a hazardous waste facility on top of an aquifer? And what we have in the northern part of the county is just exceptional compared to the southern part of the county. But one of the things that I understand you look for is how you have to engineer that space. And if you have some of the ravines that we have, where you already have, you've already got space to put things in. Am I
You already have a big hole.
close on this? I mean, how do you select a site? What's the basis for selecting a site?
Money.
Let's talk about incineration.
It comes down to the geology of the site. And where the bedrock layers are at, the consistency of the soil, type of soil. Is there a Russell Rick?
Tell your boss that you feel this should go elsewhere for incineration, not for landfill.
I believe the most responsible thing to do is to bring it.
You're not answering my question. You have to.
You don't live here.
Tell your boss that the dioxin need to be incinerated, it should not be brought to Indiana. Okay, you're lying.
Answer the question, let's go.
My question is,
Ali, why don't you go to your house in Rosedale?
my son worked in your company 25 years ago. Now, I've heard what you said about the PVC. How does neoprene become PVC? He had not welded, but glued. And we gotta get something straight here, because rubber cake, PVC, rubber, neoprene cannot be welded, it has to be glued. Okay. What happens to neoprene after it's been in the earth for a certain length of time? It deteriorates. Okay.
Just talk loud. Folks, this group will not help us. We have to unite behind that petition and contact Holcomb directly. Thank you, the state reps that are here. We need to get Holcomb's attention.
Why would you
You
think
can't get his attention, he's,
Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
I got a big mouth, so I can got the car.
he's a hustler, he's like every one of us.
The question was about neoprene liner in the
We
lake.
know, we should
And,
have elected rainwater.
there's never been neoprene liner that I know of in our landfill.
Dave, you don't know. My son worked there 25 years, he brought some back home and they ate. So probably maybe a few years ago, I had some. Okay, I do know that. But my son's a pretty old. I'm not. He told me what he had when he worked, he helped put this stuff down. So, with that known, now there's a lot of care problems, because all of that didn't happen, but it did happen. And my question is, where the PVC, neoprene, or rubber, like the lady said this morning, sometimes there's some information. If PVC, it rains, you have a new pipeline, whatever you say, that's a PVC wearing out. All right, now, next question. Answer a little bit. You put toxic waste, acid, whatever else you put on top of it, that's going to create the problems even more so than what it's already there. I think I'm speaking for the people here, our children does not, but our children does not need to go through this. We cannot even drink our water right now because they really don't taste all that great. But we buy our water. We go to the store and buy our water. Yeah, it's good enough to take a bath in. It's good enough to wash your clothes and everything. But over a period of years, we're talking 40 years already, right? Okay, 40 years, and you're saying this thing can last 100 years. Can you honestly tell me that it'll last 100 years and when you live right beside it like I do? Tell me that?
I do live right beside it. I would live within a mile of the landfill, and I'm on the freshwater well too.
I live 2 counties from where we get our water, at Russellville. So I'm one of the few here that gets their water first before anybody else gets it. How much more is it going to damage these people here when they get to their house? And you tell me that water's going to be just as pure when it gets to their house as it was here? If there is a spillage, there is a leak, then how long will it take to determine that leak there? Do you monitor this every day, every hour, every minute?
We monitor every single day. It's part of our permit. We have required inspections of both the closed unit and the currently operating unit. So we have to check to make sure the leak detection system, make sure we're not getting flow, out of that system that would be above our the leakage rate.
One more question. I heard on TV, I heard on different newscasters that it was coming to Indiana and not to worry about it because it wasn't that toxic. Right? Did you hear this? Does anybody else hear this? I heard on TV when it was coming to Indiana that it wasn't that toxic. Now, have you heard that on TV?
It's also been reported that there's been 12 quarters of violation. I don't know if you could speak to that. I don't know if they're consecutive, but my understanding that has happened in at least the last 5 years. So I don't know how good I feel about that.
Thank you. I can speak to the alleged non-compliance issue. It's
not alleged, it's a fact.
For
No.
12 consecutive quarters.
It's,
I know for a fact the last 2 months, there has been core drilling going on all around 236 from the Hebron Cemetery and up north and around your landfill. And I, sir, used to work at that landfill. I know what goes on there. I can tell you without any doubt that I know that there is contamination that gets out there. I have lived in it. And I know for a fact that everybody here has fished or recreation in Raccoon Lake or in Raccoon Creek. And I know farm animals and farmers around this land. I hunt fish as well as most everybody here. I know for a fact from working there that there is contamination that gets out. That wheel wash is a freaking joke. I drove through it. I used to be a timber truck driver out there. So you're not going to blow smoke up mine. I've been there. I know for a fact, from my wife, looked it up on EPA's website today, that you have been in violation for the last 12 quarters. That's 3 straight years.
And nobody has done anything about it.
that,
Try somebody that's been in violation.
You can't.
With such strict laws.
well,
When was the last time the lines were upgraded or maintained?
They will poison us, they don't care about us. You don't care about us.
that's not true.
If you care, send it somewhere else.
You don't care. You don't care who you poison if that's
you'll stop.
How dare you guys?
That EPA website for that particular issue is inaccurate.
Greta Thunberg would hate you.
They're the ones that do your
The alleged non-compliance was related to a labeling issue for a container. Well, let me explain how that website works, if I may.
Please do, please.
They're the ones that judge you.
Let him tell us how the government tells us in every step. Tell us, please. Tell us how it felt.
There's been no release from that landfill. What you found on the website relates to a labeling issue. And that labeling issue was already addressed with Indiana Department of Environmental Management. And the reason why that shows as 12 consecutive quarters is until they close that out from a paperwork perspective, in their office, they deem that issue as open on that website. So it appears that you've been out of compliance for that long, but that's not really the case.
How long have you been? How long have you been out of compliance?
That labeling issue was corrected
How long
immediately.
have you been out of compliance? Answer that question. If they're wrong, how long has it been?
We haven't been.
Are you kidding me?
So you were never out of compliance?
All right, he said it. We all heard him. If we find out you were lying, then what? What ramifications do you have for lying to us? What ramifications do you have for lying to us if you did today?
Sir, I'm not lying to you.
If you are, what ramifications?
So the EPA's lying?
I'm sorry? And this facility is specifically designed for this type of material.
How long ago? When were those liners put in?
I can't hear everybody that's yelling at the same time.
What's getting put in your pocket?
So at the end of the day, are we all here? Are we all
The
here
material that came to
talk
us was not there's no dioxin profile for that material. We don't accept dioxin at the landfill.
Is there a grade for CRAN?
Thank you. My name's Greg Graham. I'm a lifelong resident of Roachdale. I'm sure many of you know me or my family. We've lived here for many years. And I think we're all here tonight because we have seen on our television screens every night what happened when a giant corporation, Norfolk Southern, imposed an involuntary risk on the citizens of a small town, East Palestine, Ohio. Now we have another corporation that is wanting to impose that risk on us. And the reason we're here tonight is to get the answers to these questions. And honestly, after what I've heard so far, the question I'd like to ask you people is how do you sleep at night? But I'll ask a more specific question here, which is how long do the materials that you plan to receive at this facility, how long do you say they will be harmful to the people in this community, potentially? Assuming the worst case, that this containment fails.
It will not be harmful to the community.
The materials would not pose a risk to human health and environment because they are contained. That's what the system is designed to do, is to be an end-of-life disposal for materials.
How old is this system?
50 years old.
50 years
Well,
old.
with all due respect, the question I asked was when the containment failed, how harmful would they be? But moving on, that question perhaps for your COO also. is Heritage Environmental, as part of its plan, establishing a fund for the environmental damage that it could potentially cause in this community? Is it going to set aside some sort of ability to compensate people in this town when they are inevitably
How
harmed?
can we compensate if we're dead?
How do you compensate?
I don't want money.
You can't compensate the life of a child.
As part of a hazardous waste facility, can you hear me? Okay. My voice isn't very strong. As part of a hazardous waste facility, in order to get that permit, you have to set up what's called a closure fund. And that fund shows that the company is financially viable, so that when the facility does close, you have the means to maintain it for 30 years. 30 years. We're here to answer your questions, but yelling and screaming, it's hard to hear.
How old is the facility? When was the last
So let me
updated?
answer that. You know, right there, let me answer him, okay?
How old are your liners?
No, I don't.
Exactly. Why are you here?
Hey, we're here to answer questions.
You didn't answer his question.
I will if you'll shut up, okay? I want to be respectful, but you guys are not being respectful either, so please, let me answer your question. So the unit was built in 1981. The way a landfill is built is you build a cell at a time, okay? And you fill that up to a certain level, and then you build the next cell. The unit that was built in 1981 through, I think it was 11, okay. That unit is now closed.
What question do you think he asked? He asked
how long.
Did you create a fund and you're BS
No,
us about
he
what's
didn't
going
ask
on
that,
in the
sir.
process?
He asked how long and how old
Answering
it
a different
was.
question.
No, they already said 1980 opened in 81.
I'm
He
trying
asked about the fund.
Okay. I'm still trying to answer your question. Okay. So once the cell is filled, and then you get up to the permitted limit of that structure, you're done. So then you build a new cell, and then you build a new cell.
So the life of the liners are indefinite?
Correct.
Or at least 30 years that they have to take care of.
Right. Right.
If there is a leak, then we have to report it to the regulatory agency, and we have to go through and do a remediation.
Within how much time? Within how much time, please? Within how much time? After you notice a leak, how long do you have to report it?
After you find a leak, immediately.
How much time?
24 hours.
So if the sale was closed in 1981, and you only have to be responsible for 30 years, you're no longer responsible for that one?
No, for the entire site.
Okay.
What happens if this company goes bankrupt?
So that's why you have the closure fund. That fund is actual money sitting in a bank.
For how long?
For 30 years after.
Forever.
There are actual.
If we go bankrupt, that money is there for the state.
How much was it?
Doesn't matter. Dioxin have no business in a landfill. They can only be incinerated. They have no business in a
Cost money! Had the contract already been signed?
Is there a, I think it's Scott Cox?
Good question.
Steve Cox?
On a computer, you can find out who okayed it. And with your little diagram here, you say you're going to be monitoring it. Is that AI monitoring? Is it computer network monitoring? They can be hacked. Yeah, it can. You stay right there because I have the microphone and they can hear you just fine. You said it's under layers of ground. How are you going to monitor it for a leak?
had some fragments that go down to the sump level, liquid up to the ground.
So there's a way for it to get flooded and backdraft back up onto the land.
We have sensors inside of the sump fragment.
So it is computer monitored.
Pipes are underground, and then we have readouts above ground. They are not with any type of external network. That's showing
Then how can you monitor if it's not hooked to an external network? So there's a human taking the numbers down and reporting to who? Who gets that from the workers? And are the workers, no offense guys, but I would not work there. Who's gonna be working this land? Who's gonna be facing that poison daily? And how do you plan on keeping it out of Turkey Creek? How do you plan on keeping it out of my grandchildren's water? It's bad enough that we have to buy bottled water because of the taste of it. I want to know what your company is going to do to ensure that my grandchildren can give me great-grandchildren, and that their children will be able to play in the water, to have pools. And this is not going to be another Aaron Brockovich town.
The landfill, that's why it's specifically designed the way it is to keep those contaminants in a permanent spot, you know, forever. So that it would never get out into the environment to contaminate anybody's water supply. So there's facilities like this across the nation, and they serve a purpose. Because without those facilities, before record laws and before we had facilities like this, that's when you had situations like Aaron Brockovich, like you said, where raw chemicals got into water supplies, contaminated drinking water. So that's why it's designed the way it is, to be able to keep that material at a safe place. And remember, we do not have any type of injection wells on site. We are a landfill. You have heavy equipment. You're using bulldozers to compact the waste in. And then
But when you bring it in, when you're tracking it from Ohio all the way to another state, instead of leaving it where it is, you want to spread the shit everywhere? Not my bad.
Move on,
Brian Fletcher.
Get your next load,
Tomorrow.
And we'll be at your gate.
I was just curious, how many truckloads do you plan on coming to the facility?
We do not know that yet.
How do you know if you can handle the volume of material that's coming to you? How much capacity do you have at the present to handle material?
That our current estimate is another 50 to 75 years based on the current received volume that we're taking in on a daily basis.
How many tons of this stuff can you put in the ground at this point right now today?
That question I don't know, but the last number that we were given is just an estimate, because like I said, there's different places that this material is going to. It's about 30,000 cubic yards.
How many truckloads are you anticipating to come here at this point?
We don't know. It's just estimates now from the generator.
No. I got grandbabies. that live down the creeks down here. If that stuff leaks out, this is not good. Why did you let it even come here? You didn't even let us know.
Yeah.
It's here already. I have 3 grandbabies that live in this county and more that live down south that were the water that's going down. I got grandbabies that play in that water. And if it leaks, no, it will leak. It will leak. Don't tell me it's not gonna leak. I have grandbabies that play in that creek. God help you. God help you. You're going to answer to God for this. You're going to answer to God.
Who's transporting the material?
Yeah, where's it coming from?
Like who? What company's bringing it?
Yeah, what company?
There's several different third-party trucking companies that are bringing in. All those trucking companies have to have certified equipment with DOT standards to handle that type of material. It's an enclosed vessel, so.
What's the name of the company? What's the name?
For public services. We lost integrity with that one. If you had this meeting set up, you should have had the meeting before material came. Because you lost all faith with having material. I already knew you did that. I mean, I already knew it should have been. Whose control was it in? And nobody. I think that's a cop-out. You still should have known to have the meeting before.
What's the transfer of the title?
How long have you known the material was coming here? How long have you personally known the material was coming to this landfill?
The testing and approval was completed yesterday.
You can organize trucks to come within a 24-hour period before you let the people of the community know. You should have let the people know before you hauled.
There were already trucks loaded on site that the EPA had sitting on site.
Other communities denied it.
Correct.
When the parents been full.
What was your question?
Why did you not let the people of this area know that you are bringing these trucks here before you brought them here? And don't tell me you couldn't have done that. I've been in business.
We did it as soon as we could. The approval, EPA designated several places for this material to go. They were moving it as quickly. This is the most environmentally responsible thing to do with this material is to bring it here, to this facility.
On an aquifer!
Kim Carrington. Dakota Carlton.
So my question is, why didn't you let everybody know beforehand, and what will happen if it leaks into Raccoon? Because Raccoon dumps into Sugar Creek. We got kids that play in that creek every single day, except for winter because it's always iced over. But we got kids playing in that creek. What's going to happen if it gets in there and they get in there and start playing? It's going to look like Family Guy, where the fucking people Nobody wants to see that.
There is no leak at the landfill. There is no leak. Just because something is posted on the internet does not mean it's true.
Just because you said it doesn't make it true.
This ain't posted on the internet, that is the news.
What's your thoughts on that?
I have. Okay, if it ain't that toxic, then why can't they bury it at the site where it was already at? They're gonna put a new railroad tracks there anyhow. Why can't they put it there if it's not that toxic? Well, guarantee you it's that toxic, but it wouldn't be here because they don't want it there. And do you have, your company, do you have knowledge to say, hey, the people here don't want it, we don't want it here? Or do you not want to say that?
It's too late for that.
To protect the people and to protect your interests?
There ain't no money in that.
Thank you very much.
Money! Follow that money. I want to know how much money you're going to make off of this by saying this.
Yes. We've received 3 truckloads of the material already.
We are here to talk him out of it.
I'm going home, baby. This is just a big sham.
How many cubic yards does a truck hold?
1,000 pounds of it, please. We aren't here to talk them out of it. They've already done it. They've already started.
The contract's already been signed. Now I'm got your money.
Jim Hipster? Hipsher?
Why?
Why didn't you have this meeting before you got those 3 truckloads?
Jim Hipster? Hipsher?
Answer her question.
When were the trucks? They were accepted today and they were dumped today. We're not poisoning you. The material is isolated in one of the most protected landfills in the country.
Why does it have to be protected if it's not that dangerous?
Why would the government stop doing this?
Good evening, Putnam County. My next question is, anyone working for Heritage, raise their hand. I don't blame you, I'd be afraid to raise mine too. Anybody working for the railroad?
What was that question?
Who works for the railroad? Does anyone work for the railroad?
What area? Anyway.
Well, of course, I'm talking about the area up there by East Palestine, where we're going to get this crap from. And it's obvious, ladies and gentlemen, we do not want it. And nobody wants it. And you know what we forgot to do when we started this meeting? We forgot the power of God. And He can answer our questions and resolve this issue. And He can close that pit up and protect all of us, our well water. I think she's trying to take this away from me. Isn't that like a woman? Isn't that like a wife? All you men out there, come on, let's hear it.
I have a question. How much money did you get? And I'd like to know also who okayed this.
I'm not sure myself what the monetary compensation.
This is material that we are allowed to accept at this landfill by permit. And the approval from the perspective of the incident in Ohio would have come from EPA. EPA designated several approved facilities for that material to be sent to, including ours.
Well, now that we're all worked up, I'm going to ask a prayer. I'm going to ask our Father. Let me get my hat off because I want to show my reverence. Father, I'm a little late in saying this, but I'm asking that you'll touch each of us, and that you will resolve this issue for us, and that you'll place a large guardian shield over each and every one of us for our homes and families. Oh, excuse me, but I'm awfully dry, and I don't see any water around here except maybe tainted water. Is that nice? I'm getting a dirty look here, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm only fine with you. Here, I'm done.
Pat Bennett.
No.
Pat Bennett.
It's not that dangerous.
Good evening. So I was curious about the specific routes that these trucks are taking, what kind of safety precautions are on these vehicles, and if God forbid there were some type of accident involving these vehicles, what kind of protection and training is available for those first responders that might be on site, and what kind of dangers they may be in. And also, I don't think anybody here is satisfied with your answer about the non-compliance issue. If it was just a labeling issue, then why did it go on for 3 years and apparently seems to still be going on? And why was it not addressed, and how is that being addressed?
And how many more trucks are coming?
That's also.
But for the non-compliance issue, what happens is when you resolve something with the agency, so in this case it was with IDEM. Now this is an EPA database, but everything that even we deal with IDEM ends up on that database. So we had an issue with the labeling. We fixed it immediately. The agency doesn't close that out in their files for some period of time, and as long as that remains open, they leave that open on that database. So it looks like you're out of compliance until they decide to close the file. But in fact, that's where the inaccuracy comes in.
Lies.
So you're saying that it was accurate the whole time, but the EPA has just not updated their site, and that they're incorrect? Because earlier you said that the EPA site was wrong.
To the extent that it says we're out of compliance for 12 consecutive quarters, that is incorrect. So we've tried to work with them on that database forever. They just won't change it. So it shows until they decide to close the file, and since that's not a priority for them, it's open.
All right, so I don't think anybody is satisfied with that answer, but I will go back to the issue with the first responders. If there is some sort of accident in transport, what's being done about that? What preparations do you have in place for that?
So all the trucks and drivers are certified under DOT and EPA regulations. And in the event of an accident, all the companies that operate in this area have a network of emergency response contracts in place. So if something were to happen, if the truck were to overturn on the way, there would be an immediate response. That network would get activated and the response would happen and material would get cleaned up. We are.
So you would respond to cleaning it up on our road?
We could if we were the closest one to it, yes.
Angela Marie. There are loads going, like Ollie mentioned earlier, we're one of multiple facilities taking waste from East Palestine. I mean, they did a controlled burn on site.
I figured this much.
I can't hear you.
So it has traditional no.
I'm sorry to be your interruption, guys. I am not from your community, but you guys were in my backyard, and I felt it was my duty to come here and save the small towns of Indiana. My question to you is, there is a partition in the southeastern part of Indiana, close to Ohio and Kentucky, that has absolutely no aqueduct on it. Why do you insist on poisoning us as citizens in our own backyard, and why are your leaders, your House leaders, not here, and why have they sold you out to a company? That's my question. You say that you don't know who signed that? I call BS. You know who signed it. You may not know personally, but you can look up that paperwork.
If you brought 3 truckloads here before you even let us know that it was coming, how can we trust you to even let us know if there is a leak?
And we're required to report leaks immediately. I mean, that's part of our remit to the...
What are your permits to who? The EPA who say you have a leak?
I've got 3 kids, and if any of my kids get sick, oh, I swear to God.
Cindy Lecletto? Maria Worth.
Are you okay with this yourself? That's a good question. Are you guys okay with this in your backyard right now? It seems like you guys are pretty hard because, well, you're That's not a question. I'm saying, are you okay with
this? Maria? Holy Trinity? Okay. I have a question for both of you. We voted you in, the people that are here tonight, and yet you haven't spoke. Why didn't you allow this to happen? How could it happen without us knowing, sir? How does the EPA tell you you have to do this, or was this a deal you could say no, or you had to say yes? Did you have an option? Or did the government, the federal government, mandate you're taking this and you do not have a choice? Which is it?
We bid on the work with a number of other companies and happened to win one of the bids. EPA, we did. And EPA.
So they need to know about it in advance.
But the way the process apparently was unfolding in Ohio, they were looking to move that material as quickly as possible.
When did you put
And they began sending the material once we got our approval through our approval process. And that was yesterday.
When did you put your bid in?
I know that you're gonna make a lot of money, as every landfill that takes this shit will. We know, and this community, as you can tell, they don't make 150,000, 200,000 a year. And they raise families here, they grow crops here, they work day and night. You've seen our farmers work hard. Our cows, our animals, our children, our grandchildren, my great-grandchild. I have 25 that live in these communities. 25! And you did this without letting us know first, sir? I'm educated. I'm in the medical field. And why didn't you give us the respect to see how we felt before you took this big deal? I just need to know why you didn't care to at least see how it would be received.
They won the bid.
This is what we do for a living. We do this on a daily basis. We take material just like this on a daily basis. We, accommodated this meeting as quickly as we could, and we're informing you as quickly as we could. This is as quick as it could have happened, based on the timeline leading from Ohio.
My last question is, I don't believe for 1 second that you don't know the money you're going to make off of this project. And we want to know, if we want our water tested, I have a well on 3 acres outside of Rosedale in the country, and I have a little creek there, and if I want my land and my water tested, is it going to be free? Is the EPA going to pay for this, like they're doing in Ohio? Because these chemicals are now here. They're in my community, so will these services be allowed to us?
The two scenarios are not, it's like comparing apples and oranges. Well, I mean, but there's a difference. I mean, the exposure scenario in Ohio was direct. The pure chemical was released in that area, and that's what the people there were exposed to. What's coming here is minimally contaminated soil with some of those chemicals. Then it's going into an isolated landfill where there will be zero contact with humans and no contact with the environment. Completely different scenarios. You'd have to ask the EPA or IDEM that question. I don't.
Who believes the EPA?
Well, one level of confidence you can have is that we and the regulators both test the groundwater monitoring system around the landfill, and those results are all coming back clear. And there is no issues with those wells. So if there's no issues with those wells, there can be one with yours related to the landfill.
Chad Cole? Chad? It's definitely Chad. I can't make out the last name. Is there any Chads that want to speak? Oh, he is. Josh Reneker? We'll hold it.
My question is for Mike.
congressman.
Where are you? Write these guys' names down and make damn sure you don't vote for them. And tell people not to vote for them. This shit has to end.
And that's the whole control.
Talk to us. You shut us down during COVID, but the CDC now says we're totally wrong. But you can't do nothing here. And I know the answer. And you do too. Not true. Many of you know me here. I am Bo Baird. Just like many of you, I have the same questions as all of you, and that's why I'm here tonight. I live 10 miles from here. I have a well that drains just from this aquifer, just like many of you have talked about tonight. I am here for these questions, just like you. I found out about this 72 hours ago, and I've been on the phone nonstop. But I think the true failure here is with our federal administration and the EPA. The EPA should be here tonight. The EPA should be the one answering these questions. I appreciate the company at least coming forward. They didn't have to be here tonight. The EPA is the one that is failing us here. They are the ones that should be here answering these questions. They're the ones that should, they should be the ones answering this. And I have urged for them to pause their decision until they answer our questions. And that is why I'm here tonight to listen to these as well.
He's saying he knew yesterday. How long was it really? If you knew 3 days ago, why are they...
Sir, you're confusing answers. I found out 72 hours ago that this was a possibility. He's answering a different question. You're confusing information. So I would like to have questions answered. I would like to have them answered where we can all gather information from this.
You honestly knew 3 days ago and he knew when?
I can't answer that for him, sir. I'm telling you, sir, I'm telling you when I found out from a local person here in this community.
The 72 hours ago was when EPA announced that ours was one of the facilities that was a possibility to receive the material. When that process starts, we have an internal review and approval process to make sure we are allowed to accept that material. That approval depends on how they asked us to expedite it. That approval is what happened yesterday.
They asked you to expedite it, they were going to have this town meeting.
No, they asked us to expedite it because they're trying to move material off that site as quickly as possible.
Why? What's the emergency? You knew when you put the bid in what you were
Look, I mean, we have.
Well, they wanted, so we care more about what the corporation wants rather than what the people of the area.
This material essentially is really no different than the material that we accept on a regular basis. Well, but that's what the data says.
What happens if you guys are wrong? What happens to our families? And you who live through it, what happens to your family? What happens if you guys are wrong? Who pays for that to us?
Wrong about what?
About the possibilities of long-term effects for our children.
But see, here's where the difference is. The people of Ohio should have that concern because they were affected directly by that material. It was released right into the environment. I know the controlled burn and the smoke that they were directly but the exposure, I get that, but the exposure in that scenario is direct. Here there is no exposure. That material comes in an enclosed truck, gets placed in an enclosed landfill, covered, and there's no exposure. So it's not the same.
Putnam County and Rochelle, if you look at it, sits directly on a fault line. Like some people in Rochelle can't get insurance for earthquakes. What if you guys are putting this stuff literally on a fault line? What happens if an earthquake makes it crack and now we have it into our water? Who is responsible at that moment?
but I understand that concern, but wouldn't that be a concern regardless of this particular material coming here? Okay, so.
The gentleman said it, buried it in the spot where it originated, and then made that spot uninhabitable.
All of that. Okay. My name is Josh Reneker. I moved to Rochdale about 5 years ago. I have 2 little kids. We live right by the tracks. The tracks go through our backyard. The creek in Rochdale runs through our property. So far, I had a whole list of questions, and honestly, I got answers to most of them. And the nature of the way that they've been answered makes me feel that this material is not outside of the scope of what you deal with on a daily basis. Would you agree with that? This is in the scope of what you do every day and what the facility was built for.
The material is generally typical of that. It's the event that generated it that's the difference.
Okay, so how many people here heard the material was coming via social media or the news? Okay, so I have a follow-up question. I have 2 follow-up questions. My first one is, this material that's coming, where does it fall on your risk scale for accepting material? Is this a extremely high risk? Is this a medium risk material? Is this considered a low risk material?
I believe we would consider it a low risk material given the level of vinyl chloride that's in it. Again, the level, let's use vinyl chloride as the example. 6 parts per million is the limit at which we can receive. Anything below 6 is acceptable. This is 0.033 parts per million. 2 orders of magnitude below.
Okay, understand that. So this really is completely in the scope of what the facility was designed to manage and dispose of appropriately based on today's regulations and laws. Okay, so anything high risk that comes to your facility, what is the protocol to let the people know if something is high risk? Because if you're considering this low risk, and we all found out via other channels, and that's really what we're angry about. Am I wrong? That's what we're angry about. We didn't know, right? But we didn't know, right? We didn't know. And we learned about it through another channel, and that's frustrating, right? That's got us amped up a little bit. So my question is, not related to this event, because I understand that this event escalated quickly because it was an event that had drastic impact. I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, so I have family in that area, right? So I understand the event was drastic and had very, very bad impacts because it was high risk there. Now the material is in a low risk state, can be shipped to a facility that's designed and has been managing this kind of waste for years, appropriately and effectively. But what happens if you bid and win a high risk material at some point? What can we learn from this event so that we don't have to end up here again and be angry? So that's really my question, is what can we learn from what just happened tonight, and how can we make this better in the future should something that potential risk is coming to our area in the future?
So now you pose an interesting question, an interesting scenario. We don't really look at materials coming in as sort of high risk, low risk. I think the issue with this is that the exposures that people see on the news in Ohio kind of being conflated with what the exposure might be here, which is, again, as I said, apples and oranges. We don't accept anything unless we're allowed to under our permit. And that permit has limits in it that has built-in cushion, let's say, for what we can accept. So generally speaking, I wouldn't, if there's a material that we're allowed to accept under that permit, I wouldn't see a situation where we would notify anybody. I mean, the reason why we took the initiative to notify the IDEM commissioner, for example, was just because of the fanfare associated with the event itself in Ohio. Had nothing to do with the waste or the level of contaminants in this particular waste.
So basically, what he's saying is you stop it.
This is so low risk, why are other states blocking it? Why is it landed here?
Why did Texas block it?
Why did Michigan block it?
They're actually taking it out.
Can we have your time?
Tony Woodall.
Hello, I'm Tony Ridgway Woodall, and most of you probably know me either from my active social life as a young person or my active social life as a librarian at the Crawfordsville Library. So, I have been doing a lot of research for this situation that has just occurred overnight for us. I have been battling the solar company. So I know you're saying, why is this woman talking about the solar panels? But I've learned a lot, so please bear with me. I've been battling the solar panels because they say they're green, and they're not. They're toxic when they're at an industrial level. They are not safe unless they're small and manned at your own little house. It's a lot different when it goes a large scale. Through this process, I have learned that you cannot wait until it's happening. You have to attend every single month to your commissioners' meetings, your planning commission before the commissioners' meetings, because they make these decisions to set up the perimeter to allow these companies to move into our communities before we even know about it. It's real easy to get elected as a commissioner and to say yes, 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 at a board meeting, yes, approve, yes, approve. It's a little bit harder for the planning commission when they gotta figure out what the rules gotta be for the commissioners to approve it. But it all starts with whoever it was in 1970 who said, yeah, that'd be a great thing to put at our corner of our county to face the other county near us. It was never put into consideration, or people were not told to come to the meetings and discuss what we would allow to come here. I understand that now we are 40 plus years into this scenario and environmental problems are happening left and right because of, they blame our consumption, they blame all these things, but you've noticed it's not our plastic water bottles that are causing a problem in our area. It's toxins from a train company that had nothing to do with us, which is also being either hauled in on a train or in a truck. So we possibly are repeating the accident. If any accident goes wrong, we potentially have another scenario. So with this, the whole reason I stood up here and raced here after work was to make sure that every single one of you start attending, even in rounds, take turns every quarter. One of you take a turn, go to your planning commission meetings and say no, speak against it. Go to your commissioner meetings and speak against it. When they approve something you don't like, don't vote for them again. And I want to read one other thing here to you. I screenshotted some things so I wouldn't forget. And they said, where are your politicians at? Well, let's see, I am now 2 years living into Montgomery County, just a few miles from here, directly north. I spent the most of my whole life here. Okay, so yesterday, when I came home and I found out all this stuff, I got very angry, as I'm sure most of you did. It's not what I wanted to see when I came home. So my Senator Todd Young responded, thank you for contacting Senator Todd Young. I have received your correspondence and you will receive a response soon. In the meantime, please visit my website and stay informed. Blow off. Okay, second thing. Eric Holcomb, write this down. 317-232-4567. 317-232-4567 is the Ask Eric hotline. Please call all of your politicians, commissioners, planning commissions, mayors, everyone, and make sure your voice is heard, because it's not being heard here. This is just to satisfy us and try to make us believe it's okay. And sir, I understand you're the manager, but you're not safe either. I understand it's a paycheck and it takes care of your family, but you are right here with us. I don't know why you made the trip down. You don't live next to anything toxic. The average income in this county is $27,000 a year. Your company makes $170 million a year. So I think that maybe there should be a scholarship. Maybe you should be paying for the preschool for all the kids in this community. Maybe you should be teaching them how to run their own politics through money that you invest in our children, so that one day we can stop all this from happening and come up with smarter ways to solve our problems.
Robin Walsh. Robin Walsh. Is there a Robin Walsh? Tiffany Bell? Tiffany Bell. Oh.
We see no reason to stop the trucks coming in.
Right now, we are in a fight for our lives as we know it. I am a young woman in my 30s, and I chose this slice of God's beautiful, fertile land to plant my feet. You mean to tell me that this colored chart that you have here is supposed to be a feel-good blanket that I can wrap myself around when I am given a cancer diagnosis, because the liner that you have in your landfill is 0.3 mils thick. That is the thickness of a pond liner in which holds goldfish, not the most toxic chemicals known to man that no one else wants to take, that you won the bid for. And you all sit here before me and look me in the eyes and look all the rest of us in the eyes and try to assure us that it's going to be okay, and it's not okay. My question to you is, you won the bid. How many cubic yards can fit into each truckload that you are receiving? You said that you're telling us that you've received 3 truckloads to your facility. How many cubic yards fit in a standard 53-foot truck?
You're only 48.
So DOT shipments are regulated by weight. So the weight of the material, because it's the soil, you cannot fill up the full volume of the truck. So every truckload of 53-foot truck weighs approximately 20 tons.
How many trucks? 40,000 pounds.
40,000 pounds.
So
What kind of trucks are they being hauled in?
20,000 pounds of this soil.
Correct.
What are the senators gonna do about it?
It's what they're doing.
What are the senators gonna do about it? Why would you let
About
this company do it?
All about the Benjamin.
Okay, so my next question is, you assure me and all the rest of us, all of us innocent, we did not ask for this to come here, but the almighty dollar, the bid that you won to bring this to our town, and your landfill is on top of an aquifer. How can you sit here and tell us that we should be okay with any of these things that you are taking in the name of the almighty dollar? You are selling our souls for a price. We all have a price on our heads right now because of this. We do not want to be a documentary. Who is testing the soil for dioxin? I want to know. Who is testing? Right now, I do not feel good. I'm angrier than I even knew when I had just found out about this 72 hours ago, that this soil was going to be shipped here. Now knowing that you're self-regulating, who regulates the regulator? You're self-regulating. It would be in your best interest to just say, okay, there's no problem.
If you don't test for dioxin.
You're self-reporting, which is their, in turn, self-regulating. How often, who's testing for the dioxin? Who is testing for this forever chemical that is lethal, deadly, should be accepted nowhere? Who is testing for that?
We do not accept dioxins at our landfill. The generators of material that produce the waste profile that waste and identify what type of constituents are in that waste.
And that's the typical scenario. In this particular scenario, given what happened in Ohio, EPA, I believe, brought in a third-party testing lab to take care of that.
I feel that I stand united with everyone in this room that none of us are satisfied with any of these answers that are being fed to us in the name of the almighty dollar. Amen. And that's all I have to say.
I'm going to go ahead and follow up on that right there because that was really well said. I come from Down Creek, outside the scope of this county. So I'm Down Creek is where I am. Can I get a show of hands who all here is drawing a government paycheck? Hands up for you if you are an elected official, you work for the elected officials. It'd be nice if they have something more to say, got a little bit more advocating for the people, because nobody seems to be advocating for the people that are elected. It's just a bunch of people in here grilling these two guys that work for the corporation. And the thing that can stop the next truck is organization. So it's the folks here that can stop the next truck. It's not gonna be Mr. Ollie stopping the truck. He doesn't care, he wants that cash flow. Operator, he wants his paycheck, so he's gonna keep that operation going. And our elected officials, well, they're kind of just vacant here. So I don't know what they're doing, but it's the key to this, a corporation, the other side of it's an organization. So you all need to organize, and you see the green papers that got passed out by Rudy at the beginning? That's how you need to organize. You need to get online, sign your name on there, and then you can communicate amongst each other to organize to stop this if you don't want this dumped in your community, threatening your water, flowing down creek to me, because that Raccoon Creek goes all the way to the Wabash. Does anybody know there's a little island right there in the Wabash, it's Goat Island. So I don't want to see it down my way. So it'd be great if everybody gets that green piece of paper, get it online, coordinate, get with Rudy. There's some other people got up and spoke. A woman from the APC, the Planning Commission. It was already, the librarian was talking about how the Planning Commission could shut that down. Commissioners,
the judge, the county judge, anybody, where's the judge? The Attorney General, Indiana. We contact him. But anyway, organization is your key. So organize amongst yourselves, amongst the folks here, because they're the ones who care. And all these late birds are still hanging in here after all this hot air blown and a bunch of answers that don't get answers. Like, how much was the contract? He doesn't know. So he doesn't know. And also, another key thing that he doesn't know is no dioxin profile on this contaminated soil that's being trucked into this county. That's something that you really want to answer. But we can keep talking. I jumped in line. I'm going to yield the rest to the next person up on this list.
Around the entire system. So those wells are in the water table.
How many feet?
We're
We need to know.
monitoring the water that's flowing underneath the landfill. So that's how we detect, another method of detection if there was any leakage, because we have these wells that are in that water table you're discussing.
But this is
So your
self-regulatory.
facility is above the water table here. Why don't we send the ship to where it's not going to poison somebody's water instead? Why your facility? Did you guys win the bid or something?
Do we have the sign-up sheet so we can go through?
Let that guy speak.
When was your liners last inspected?
Yeah.
Is Carolyn Huff here?
Right.
I'm so sorry. I apologize to be rude. Do you mind if I go first? I promise you will not regret it.
You see the post?
I'll tell you.
My name is Rudy Guerrero. My wife and I found our dream property a year ago in Rochdale. We moved here. We have 5 kids. We homeschool. We're Christians. We're conservatives. We love God. I'm an ex-scientist. I've done virology research. I've done microbiology. I no longer do that now, but I intimately dove into this topic as soon as it happened. And yesterday, my mom called me and told me it's coming to my backyard. So I'm going to take about 90 seconds to inform you about something that no one is wanting to talk about. And that is a word called dioxin. D-I-O-X-I-N. Dioxin. And when the train that had chlorinated chemicals combined with ordinary hydrocarbon plastics, it created something called chlorinated dioxin. This just so happens to be the most toxic compound that man knows. It was accidentally discovered in 1949 when there was an explosion in the Monsanto facility in Virginia. And from then, they've been doing numerous studies, and they know that A, it is a multi-generational toxin that will impair the fertility of your children, that will cause cancers, that if your children do have babies, they will suffer miscarriages prior to having those babies, and it is a slow toxic death. Now, furthermore, dioxin was the pernicious compound in Agent Orange. We all know Agent Orange, all right? In Vietnam, that is why Agent Orange was so toxic, is because of dioxins. It is what is called a PBT, persistent, it doesn't go away, bioaccumulative, meaning it goes into the water, it goes into the grass, the cows eat it, we eat the steak, the dairy, the cheese, it comes to us. A nursing mother passes it along to her suckling child, okay? It doesn't go away. And it is toxic to degrees that are actually mind-boggling. Dr. Peter Montague, PhD, Environmental Research Foundation, gave this example. With 325 milligram aspirin, all right? If you divide that amongst 32 million adults, that is a lifetime toxic level, all right? If that's hard to wrap your head around, 1 tiny grain of salt divided amongst 9,000 adults is lifetime toxic, all right? So the EPA standard is that this is 1 million times more toxic than arsenic, and 100 truckloads of dioxin contaminated soil with about 2,000 tons is on our way, and it will be generational landslide. I'm almost done, halfway there.
You invest in our children so that one day we can stop all this from happening and come up with smarter ways to solve our problems.
Robin Walsh. Robin Walsh. Is there a Robin Walsh? Tiffany Bell. Tiffany Bell. Oh.
We see no reason to stop the trucks coming in.
Right now, we are in a fight for our lives as we know it. I am a young woman in my 30s, and I chose this slice of God's beautiful, fertile land to plant my feet. You mean to tell me that this colored chart that you have here is supposed to be a feel-good blanket that I can wrap myself around when I am given a cancer diagnosis because the liner that you have in your landfill is 0.3 mils thick. That is the thickness of a pond liner in which holds goldfish, not the most toxic chemicals known to man that no one else wants to take that you won the bid for. And you all sit here before me and look me in the eyes and look all the rest of us in the eyes and try to assure us that it's going to be okay, and it's not okay. My question to you is, you won the bid. How many cubic yards can fit into each truckload that you are receiving? You said that you're telling us that you've received 3 truckloads to your facility. How many cubic yards fit in a standard 53-foot truck?
There are only 48.
So DOT shipments are regulated by weight. So the weight of the material, because it's the soil, you cannot fill up the full volume of the truck. So every truckload of 53-foot truck weighs approximately 20 tons.
How many trucks? 40,000 pounds.
40,000 pounds.
So
What kind of trucks are they being hauled in?
20,000 pounds of this soil.
Correct.
What are the senators gonna do about it?
It's what they're doing.
What are the senators gonna do about it? Why would you let
About 197 more trucks coming.
the
Yes.
senators are responsible? Why would you let this come into our state?
All about the Benjamin.
Okay, so my next question is, you assure me and all the rest of us, all of us innocent, we did not ask for this to come here, but the almighty dollar, the bid that you won to bring this to our town, and your landfill is on top of an aquifer. How can you sit here and tell us that we should be okay with any of these things that you are taking in the name of the almighty dollar? You are selling our souls for a price. We all have a price on our heads right now because of this. We do not want to be a documentary. Who is testing the soil for dioxin? I want to know, who is testing? Right now, I do not feel good. I'm angrier than I even knew when I had just found out about this 72 hours ago, that this soil was going to be shipped here. Now knowing that you're self-regulating, who regulates the regulator? You're self-regulating. It would be in your best interest to just say, okay, there's no problem.
If you don't test for dioxin.
You're self-reporting, which is their, in turn, self-regulating. How often, who is testing for the dioxin? Who is testing for this forever chemical that is lethal, deadly, should be accepted nowhere? Who is testing for that?
We do not accept dioxins at our landfill. The generators of material that produce the waste profile that waste and identify what type of constituents are in that waste.
And that's the typical scenario. In this particular scenario, given what happened in Ohio, EPA, I believe, brought in a third-party testing lab to take care of that.
I feel that I stand united with everyone in this room that none of us are satisfied with any of these answers that are being fed to us in the name of the almighty dollar. Amen. And that's all I have to say.
I'm going to go ahead and follow up on that right there because that was really well said. I come from Down Creek, outside the scope of this county. So I'm Down Creek is where I am. Can I get a show of hands who all here is drawing a government paycheck? Hands up for you if you are an elected official, you work for the elected officials. It'd be nice if they have something more to say, got a little bit more advocating for the people, because nobody seems to be advocating for the people that are elected. It's just a bunch of people in here grilling these two guys that work for the corporation. And the thing that can stop the next truck is organization. So it's the folks here that can stop the next truck. It's not gonna be Mr. Ollie stopping the truck. He doesn't care, he wants that cash flow. Operator, he wants his paycheck, so he's gonna keep that operation going. And our elected officials, well, they're kind of just vacant here. So I don't know what they're doing, but it's the key to this, a corporation, the other side of it's an organization. So you all need to organize, and you see the green papers that got passed out by Rudy at the beginning? That's how you need to organize. You need to get online, sign your name on there, and then you can communicate amongst each other to organize to stop this. If you don't want this dumped in your community, threatening your water, flowing down creek to me, because that Raccoon Creek goes all the way to the Wabash. Does anybody know there's a little island right there in the Wabash, it's Goat Island. So I don't want to see it down my way. So it'd be great if everybody gets that green piece of paper, get it online, coordinate, get with Rudy. There's some other people got up and spoke. A woman from the APC, the Planning Commission. It was already, the librarian was talking about how the Planning Commission can shut that down. Commissioners, the judge, the county judge, anybody, where's the judge? The Attorney General, Indiana. We contact him. But anyway, organization is your key. So organize amongst yourselves, amongst the folks here, because they're the ones who care. And all these late birds are still hanging in here after all this hot air blown and a bunch of answers that don't get answers. Like, how much was the contract? He doesn't know. So he doesn't know. And also, another key thing that he doesn't know is no dioxin profile on this contaminated soil that's being trucked into this county. That's something that you really want to answer. But we can keep talking. I jumped in line. I'm going to yield the rest to the next person up on this list.